Knight's Tale is basically your standard underdog story. It stars the late Heath Ledger, who we all know was the second best Joker, right next to Jared Leto, who of course is an actor's actor and a phenomenal performance as the Joker, let me tell you. In any case, it's an underdog story about a guy who wants to take control of his own destiny. Is not just going to deal with the cards that life has dealt with him. He's going to create his own path forward. It's kind of standard fare, but they do some things differently that I think set it apart from your typical underdog story. And it's different enough, I think, to be entertaining and engaging. Some things are novel, or maybe just could be considered novelty, but other things I think are just have to do with great cast chemistry and things like that. So, anyway, stick around.
I won't spend the rest of my life as nothing.
You have to be of noble birth to compete.
So we lie. My lords, my ladies, I have the pride, the privilege, nay, the pleasure of introducing to you a knight, sired by knights.
William Thatcher didn't make the rules. He was born
I've waited my whole life for this moment.
to break them.
Yes! Thank you, I'll be here all week.
Alright, so A Knight's Tale is written, directed, and produced by a guy named Brian Helgeland. He has done lots of stuff. Brian Helgeland wrote the screenplay and won the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay for LA Confidential. He also did the screenplay for Mystic River. And he also wrote and directed, he did the screenplay and directed Payback with Mel Gibson, which is a good movie as well. Like I said, this movie stars Heath Ledger. He plays the character of William Thatcher. Mark Addy plays Roland. You'd know him from The Full Monty and a TV show called Still Standing. He was also the king in Game of Thrones in the first season that gets executed. Rufus Sewell plays Adamar, Lord Adamar, who is the protagonist, the antagonist. He's your standard bad guy fare. He literally has no redeeming characters. He's just an asshole through and through. The movie I know him from is Dark City, which is another great movie. It's basically The Matrix before The Matrix was made, but told in a totally different way. Paul Bettany, everybody knows him as Division probably in the Avengers. I know him from the first thing I know him from was Master and Commander, which is a movie based on a series of books, and he starred with Russell Crowe in that movie. Great movie. And then, of course, the last character rounding out is Alan Tudyk. He plays Watt. Alan Tudyk, of course, plays Wash on Firefly. He is a very prolific voice actor. You would know, you probably have heard him and didn't even realize it. So anyway, Alan Tudyk plays Watt. Paul Bettany plays Chaucer, and he's supposed to be Chaucer as in the father of English literature. Rufus Sewell, like I said, plays Lord Adamar. Mark Addy plays Roland, and Heath Ledger is William Thatcher. So the whole idea, like I said, this is an underdog story. William Thatcher is the son of a Thatcher, and in this time in the Middle Ages, your station in life, especially if you were not a noble or something like that, well, you're probably not going to rise to great occasion and be rich or anything like that. Maybe if you had a business or something like that, but William is a son of a Thatcher. So his dad fixes and makes roofs for houses, and so that is William's destiny. So his dad says to him, or basically gives him away to a knight, and entrusts his son to this knight to show him the world and give him some skills that he might not otherwise gain. The movie starts out, and this is one of the things I think that sets this movie apart. It's certainly not the first movie to do this, but it is one of the few I think to do it kind of successfully. they use modern music. Like I said, this is movie set in the Middle Ages, and so the movie opens up with Queen, "We Will Rock You," but it's not just overlaid. It's actually like the people in the movie are hearing "We Will Rock You," like they're dancing to it, they're clapping their hands or stomping their feet to it. So it's kind of interesting how they do it. I really like it. Usually it's just overlaid and it's like they're not participating, but the audience is the minor characters or the background characters are listening to the music with you as you're listening to it. So it's kind of interesting that they do that. And the movie starts out with William, Roland, and Watt are waiting for the knight that they are working with to go back to the next round of his jousting or whatever it is that he's competing in at that moment. They're in between matches, and turns out he's dead. And all these guys, they depend on this knight for him to feed them and clothe them and give them food and all that kind of stuff. And if he's dead, he can't win anything, and he can't provide for them. So this is William Thatcher's chance to seize the day and to maybe live his dream a little bit. So he decides he's going to don this knight's armor and compete so that they can get some, hopefully the prize money to eat and continue their existence, at least for another day. And so he does it, and is barely successful, and they win, because basically all he had to do is not necessarily win, he just had to survive this round. And so he does that, and of course that's not the end of it. Since he is successful, he convinces his fellow compatriots, Roland and Watt, to give up most of their money so they can invest in his training and equipment and supplies, so that he can become better at this and they can continue this charade, and so he can continue to become better at this and live his dream, as it were. So and this is when they introduce another character, because one thing that is required is obviously he's not a knight. If these guys get caught, they can get in some big damn trouble. So and one of the things that they do to verify that these people are knights is they provide patents. It'd be, I guess, the equivalent of me giving a driver's license to prove I can drive. Well, patents show that you are in fact a knight, that there's history of this, or you're some kind of noble person or whatever. And this is where William Chaucer comes in, Paul Bettany, who has one of the best introductions in a movie I've ever seen. They're traveling down the road, William Thatcher, Roland, and Watt, and Chaucer comes strolling down the road, and this is from behind, and you just see him, he's like completely naked, and he's just walking down the road like this is totally normal, and like he even pats the horse and gives a howdy do to the gentleman, and of course these guys are like, sir, where are your clothes? And he just acts like this is kind of normal, and gives them a little speech. So Paul Bettany is fantastic in this role as Chaucer. He plays kind of an arrogant know-it-all, but he's humbled by these characters, especially William Thatcher's kindness. So basically what ends up happening is since Chaucer, he's playing the character Chaucer, who is obviously a fantastic writer, to clothe him and feed him, he offers to forge patents of nobility for him, and so that is how they get involved with one another. So that's what he does. And the Chaucer character is used to kind of show you that William Thatcher is a good person, and he is, despite whatever successes he might have, he remains a good guy, and he continues to be a good guy all throughout the movie. And Chaucer there is kind of there to help show you that. And he actually becomes humble because of William's willingness to go out on a limb for him, because he gets in a little trouble in the beginning of the movie, or pretty much right away, and he has to bail him out. So So this all starts, of course, they have to introduce Rufus Sewell's character, Lord Adamar, who, like I said, has no redeeming characters. He's there just to be an asshole, and he does the part great. And they're, of course, a great match for each other. They're both good at what they are doing, and not only are they competing in jousting, but it turns out they're going to compete for, of course, the same love interest, Jocelyn, and so not only so Jocelyn serves as what they're fighting over as far as the love interest, but she's also the impetus for William to not only win, but chase her, and then also some other things that he does later in the movie. She wants him to prove his love, so he has to lose for her too later on, and that actually ends up being pretty entertaining too, because it becomes all about winning for him, and I mean, it's kind of silly because he does this for a girl or whatever, but it is, in many ways, this is kind of a love story wrapped up in this movie too. So of course, naturally, as the story goes along, the entanglements between Jocelyn and Lord Adamar and William Thatcher become deeper and deeper. In fact, there is a good scene where William is going to a dance with Jocelyn, and he doesn't know how to dance, and Adamar does his best to try and embarrass him, and Jocelyn rescues him from embarrassment, which of course disappoints Rufus Sewell's character Adamar. He was totally trying to show up the character of William Thatcher, and he is unsuccessful. And so you can see that he is that this Jocelyn character is definitely more interested in her than him, but he doesn't really care about finessing her. He would take her by some kind of arrangement. He doesn't really care if she loves him or anything like that. He just wants to possess her. She's just a thing to have. Whereas William Thatcher actually loves her and will take care of her. She would be his equal, I guess. So, and then there's a recurring character that happens a couple times where he's of nobility. I think he's supposed to be the son of the king or something like that. Richard the Great, maybe. So he is not racing under his name, because if he loses, that would affect his honor, I guess. I'm not a knight, so I don't know how that works. So there's an interaction where when people do find out that he is the son of the king, the other jousters will bow out because they don't want any conflict with this guy. But William, of course, he continues to joust with him, and of course this guy likes this because he wants to joust. But when it comes time for him to maybe win the match, he decides to bow out because there's a possibility of him losing, and then of course that could affect his honor, and William honors the guy by saying, "Yeah, we're not gonna finish this match," and that comes into play later on in the movie, and it shows you that William Thatcher is his ego is not so big, especially with a reasonable person. This guy is a reasonable guy, and he has no desire to ruin somebody's ego or anything like that. And certainly, this guy is not like Lord Adamar. Lord Adamar is only in anything for himself. Well, naturally, throughout the whole movie, you're gonna find that they're always worried about. There's always a threat of him being discovered that he is not actually a knight, and the more successful he is, of course, the greater the threat is, because people would naturally start investigating. Of course, that's exactly what happens. He ends up going to toward the end of the movie. He ends up going to see where he grew up, and he goes to where his house is, and of course he thinks his dad is passed away, but it turns out he's alive, and he's kind of in a bad way. He's not doing very well, and ends up visiting him, and it's a pretty good scene. You know, you can actually, in my opinion, you can actually see how good of an actor Heath Ledger is. I mean, there are some terrible lines in this movie. I'm not gonna, whatever. And there's some things I don't like about that happen in the movie as far as story elements. But you can tell Heath Ledger is good, and there's some fantastic camaraderie between the cast. You can tell they get along, especially between Mark Addy, Paul Bettany, and Alan Tudyk. They have to me, their relationship is really real, and they pick on each other like real men would pick on each other, and I love that aspect of the movie. Like they, but at the same time, they protect each other like men do too. It's like I can pick on him, but you cannot pick on him. It's like kind of like how brothers and stuff are, and brothers and sisters and whatever, and they do a good job of that. So anyway, Rufus Sewell's character discovers that, of course, he is not a knight, exposes him, and then, of course, William is arrested, and he's under threat of death now. But the son of the king comes and rescues him. The son of the king knights him, and of course, then he can compete, and he's released from the stocks, and you know, of course, that's, in my opinion, that's a little silly. I mean, you knew this had to happen because he has to finish the movie and whatever. So you have to suspend disbelief or suspend belief for that. But it makes sense for the movie, obviously. And I do think that I'm sure knights have become knights for less things than competing with somebody or you know, I don't know, borrowing a cup of flour or sugar or something. I don't know. I mean, maybe nothing so simple, but I could see political reasons someone become a knight. I mean, certainly people get accolades for less nowadays, so I can't imagine how it would be any different in the past either. So he ends up competing against Adamar in this last match, despite Adamar's attempts to sabotage. And of course, it's the setup where, you know, they draw it out and make it as dramatic as possible. But naturally, he prevails, and they do a good job of building it up. And then they have Paul Bettany's character Chaucer does a great introduction for him at this point, and as a stall tactic for William Thatcher to get ready in between when something of consequence happens. And then his father turns up because Jousting brings, and so they build it up to make it, you know, something for him to really give him a reason why he must be successful, you know, because now his dad's there and all this kind of stuff. And of course he is successful, and you feel good, and there's a very good conclusion to the end of the movie. You know, it's satisfying. It's exactly what you expect. So, like I said, there are some things I don't like about it. Like Heath Ledger has a terrible line in the movie, and I'm wondering if you watch the movie, what you think that terrible line would be. For me, it's when he tells Rufus Sewell, "Let's dance." It just doesn't fit in the movie, in my opinion. I don't like mine. There's a lot of things that people would not say in a period piece, and for some reason, even in this movie, it just feels out of place to me. And I don't like, the other thing I don't like is, I don't like the idea, and this is maybe just me as a dad, a personal opinion or whatever, but this is, you know, a dad, there's a flashback where the dad basically says, you know, you can change your stars. The son says, William Thatcher as a boy says, you know, can I change my stars? And he says, yes. And naturally, you know, I get it for the idea of the movie, but that's like becoming Harvard president if you're a plagiarist, or that's like getting a free seat on an airline if you are fat. Oh wait, so all of these things do make sense. Never mind. So everything is within the realm of possibility. So anyway, do me a favor, watch the movie if you haven't, and let me know if you think it's a good movie or not. it is good escapist entertainment, and I think I don't think you were given an hour and a half of your time for this movie. So thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll tune in next week.